Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of the RocknRoll Beer Guy Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Audible. If you go to audibletrial.com/RRBG, you can sign up and get a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook from their 180,000 plus title selection. This podcast is also brought to you by Blue Apron. If you go to rocknrollbeerguy.wordpress.com, you can use our link to get $30 off your first order and free shipping. In this episode, I've talked to
a mixed martial artist holding a professional record, 34 wins, 8 losses. He stands 63 inches tall, weighing in at 258 pounds. Fighting out of Fullerton, California, USA, presenting the former UFC Heavyweight Champion and the number 9 ranked heavyweight contender in the world, Josh, the Warmaster Barnett.
He's competed all over the world in New Japan, Pride FC, Pancrase, and more. We geek out a little bit about comic books, we talk a bit about beer, we go through some of his favorite music to listen to while working out, and we talk a little bit about the WWE and UFC, what it's like to work with good old JR, and a bit about his future plans. It was an honor talking to him, and I hope you enjoy. Cheers.
Hello? Are you there?
Hello? Yeah.
Oh, you can't see me because I have tape on my thing. There you go.
Is that a privacy thing for...
Yes, it is a privacy thing. You never know who's looking.
That's true, that's true.
Although, I mean, if they're looking on my laptop, then woe is them as to what they're going to see.
I always tell people that, like, I have nothing to hide. If they're watching, I feel bad for them, you know?
Same boat.
Yeah, dude. Are you training? Are you at the gym right now?
No, I'm at my house.
Oh, that's your house. Okay, cool. I just saw you were saying bye to someone. I don't know if you were...
Oh, my buddy came by to drop something off.
Cool. Welcome, everybody, to the RocknRoll Beer Guy Podcast. I'm here with Josh Barnett, the Warmaster himself. How you doing today, buddy?
Pretty good. I didn't have to arm wrestle anybody over beers. But I did have to punch a bunch of people in the face earlier today. But that was because, one, they were looking for that sort of... experience anyways, because they're my students, so they're trying to get better. And two, I do enjoy it a little bit, punching them around.
How often do you get people like trying to challenge you in public? Like, hey, dude, put me in a headlock, or, you know, do a Kimura or whatever. Like,
yeah, more often than you think, and yet not as much as you might think as well, I guess. Somewhere lies in between. At least with John, you know, he's the buddy from way back, so us being retards is perfectly acceptable. But people will be like, "Oh, put me in a choke." Like, well, do you really want me to choke you? I mean, is that what you're asking? Because I could do that, but I prefer not to. How about we just stand here real nice? let me drink my beer. That works.
Yeah, dude, I don't get it. I don't get why someone would. I mean, John, like you said, John is friends, but I don't get how someone, like a random dude, would be like, "Oh, look, it's a UFC fighter. Hey, man, why don't you punch me or choke me out?" It's like, you don't want that.
Well, there was a guy at Maryland Death Fest who's like, "Hey, dude, punch me in the arm." And I went, "What? Really?" He's like, "Yeah, man, fucking, I want you to punch me in the arm, dude. Like, lay it in." All right. So I hauled off and just boom, crushed him one right in the arm. And he's like, "Oh man, that was pretty good, man. I took it." And then the next day, when he wasn't so inebriated, he's like, "Oh fuck, dude, my arm is wrecked. It was practically black. You asked me to hit you." He's like, "No, that was a dumb idea, but it was cool." lot of yinling, I guess, that day.
Yeah, right. I know a lot of dudes that, professional wrestlers and UFC dudes that just refuse to do it because of previous lawsuits and shit like that.
Yeah, that's always hairy territory, man. You don't know how someone's going to take that kind of shit, even though they asked you to do it. So, I don't know. I tread lightly.
So I know you're a beer drinker. We've shared some beers, but I wanted to know: are you a beer geek? Are you like into the crafty stuff, or you just drink whatever's
I
around?
like beer. Don't get me wrong. I can enjoy beer. I'm somewhat familiar with different types of beers and things like that. But I don't call myself a beer geek. I'm not like super nerdy about it. I do like craft beers, but honestly, I like bullshit beers. I like PBR, especially on draft. Rainier and Olympia, still like those quite a bit. But I'm into more of a lager or a stout guy. I do like stouts and porters.
Okay.
Those are always an enjoyable drink, but sometimes they're on the real high alcohol side, and they're thick at the other end of the spectrum. So you can't really drink a whole lot of them, especially if you're going to try and eat anything.
Shit.
I like oatmeal stouts quite a bit, and I like that stouts can almost, I mean, not even purposefully desserty stouts, although, and I know they make them.
Yeah.
Like that Belching Beaver peanut butter, which is amazing, but it does taste like I'm drinking dessert.
Yeah.
But the ones that give you that balance of coffee and chocolatiness, I'm a fan.
Cool.
That's like a good sipping beer, but I'm not a huge IPA guy. I don't like drinking soap, and I don't like sours.
Okay.
If I want sour stuff, I'll just drink vinegar, I guess. I mean, that's supposed to be healthy for you.
Yeah, vinegar and yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you often hang out with Adam? Because, I mean, he drinks a lot of IPAs.
I mean, if that's all that's there, I'll drink them. And I'm not going to say that I haven't had good IPAs. I have. But some of them really venture into that cilantro territory. And it's just like, I don't get the allure. And I do like some good hoppy bite as a finish, but something that's just hoppy, and then it's hoppy, and then it jizzes hops all over your tongue. I just like, that's too much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people that actually say the same thing about hops tasting like cilantro or like dish soap for them, and it's I get it. It's the vegetal herbal thing that is just, sometimes it doesn't work for people.
I mean, I like cilantro. I'm not one of those cilantro people that all cilantro tastes like soap. I think it has to do with concentrations and also what else is with it. I love aromatics when it comes to liquors too. So I like gin. I like Jägermeister and aperitifs and digestifs and Underberg. And I like herbal stuff, Barnett. But IPAs, man, just then they also can tend to run too citrusy. Like, I don't want to drink oranges or lemons or grapefruits or some variation thereof with my beer right now. I just want a fucking beer.
Right.
So there you go. I also like drinking Stella. That's good on draft.
True.
But don't give it to me in a bottle. I'll hit you with it. Fucking, it's like piss. I hate it.
Yeah, well, it's all the green bottle, man. The green bottle gets exposed to sunlight, which skunks it out, and people don't realize it. I mean, I've seen distributors delivering cases of it, and it just sits outside for like in 30 minutes, 45 minutes while they get their check or whatever, and it's like, dude, you're killing the beer.
Yeah, I've had a lot of I've had Stella in a bottle as a very disappointing experience too many times, and I don't like PBR in a bottle either. Give it to me in a can, I'm good. If it's on draft, I'm super happy. You give it to me in a bottle, and I want to start a fight. There's such a radical difference in taste, and I don't know why that is, even with PBR, because it is a dark bottle. But I like every time I'm in Seattle, there's a bunch of smaller breweries up there, and I always drink Rainier's and Manny's Pale Ale. And Manny's is pretty much a Pacific Northwest only. I don't even know if it leaves Seattle, but it's made in a little area called Georgetown, and it's one of my favorites to drink.
Sweet. Yeah, talking about the dark bottle, even if it's a dark bottle, you're still getting access to UV rays, which skunk up the beer. That's why cans have become such a big thing with craft breweries too. Like, there's a lot of them that have been transitioning over to cans. Ones that only did bottles, like Dogfish Head and Stone and stuff like that. They're all switching to cans because it's just better. It's just better for the beer. It protects it from the sun. It protects it from oxygen ruining it.
I believe you. Although I can't say I've ever had anything bad in a bottle from Allagash or Ommegang or anything like that. I've never had a bad bottled beer from them.
Well, it's also because their beers are produced with a higher amount of ingredients and quality as opposed to like the PBRs or the Stellas of the world,
Yeah. And Heineken, I don't drink those, but on draft in Amsterdam, it's pretty damn good, especially when they come out of like a Cobra tap. But if given the choice between an Amstel and a Heineken, I'm going Amstel.
Okay. Yeah, they're a little better for you physically too, calorie-wise. And
if you go, not even the Amstel Light, just regular Amstel.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I don't think I've had a regular Amstel. I think I've only seen the Light. That's great.
The Light is pretty popular, which I get. It's good for a light beer. But yeah, there's a normal Amstel too.
I did not know that. I got a bunch of topics I wanted to talk to you about because you seem to like a lot of the things I like. First one on the list was beer. Second is comics. Mm-hmm. Are you into comics? Because I have a Deadpool comic with your face on it.
I may be a bit of a comic connoisseur. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Like, what do you have? Like, do you have a large collection, or you just...
I don't know. I don't do singles. I got away from doing singles a long time ago, and strictly went to trades and graphic novels. Which there are a difference. Like a graphic novel is a singular, standalone, built together. Trades or collections. So
right.
But I went to all trades and graphic novels because I want to read them and be able to read them and the singles, you get done with one, then you got to pick up another one, you got to take the other one out of the bag, you got to put the other one back in the bag, and I understand that there's a collectability element there. I'm not really interested in collecting comics because in my lifetime there'll never be any real turnaround in value, in my opinion, to make it worthwhile. I'm not trying to burden any kids that I have with long, like just shit tons of long boxes. But yeah, I'm a very avid reader of comics. I have a decent collection, anywhere from manga stuff like Berserk and Akira,
nice.
All the Masamune Shiro, like Appleseed, Ghost in the Shell stuff, to Marvel, older Marvel stuff and DC. I love the Vertigo imprint and a lot of the stuff that's coming out of them. Even currently, like Scalped, I thought was amazing. And I've been turning people on to Preacher because they're familiar with the show. But I go, yeah, the show, from what I saw, it's pretty good, but it's nothing like the comic. You got to read the comic. And
sure.
I'm also a big fan of like the European stuff, especially like all the shit that comes out of Humanoids, like all the Jodorowsky and Mobius stuff and all the weird, odd, just crazy, I guess, adult-oriented comics that come from them. And the stuff from like 2000 AD, like your Judge Dredd, your ABC Warriors.
Oh yeah.
I'm into all of it.
Nice, man. Yeah, I actually did the same transition. I used to collect the singles, and it was getting a little bit too much. It was too much money. It was, stacks on stacks on stacks, as they say. But the novels would make it also easier for travel. And I know you travel a bit, and I do a fair bit of travel myself. And carrying 20 issues in your bag is just not really convenient.
Yeah, it's not convenient in the least. And you can chew through a trade or a graphic novel on a flight easily, maybe 2-3 of them, depending. That's kind of nice to be able to bring your book around. Plus, they're going to get banged up some, which doesn't bother me because I'm there to read them. And I like to buy even used stuff, especially when I can. But often, I don't find used shops to have a great selection of what I would call good comics or stuff that I even didn't already have. But every now and again, like I'll go to Seattle, and there's a spot in Greenwood. I'm forgetting the name, but not only was I buying somebody's old philosophy books like The Myth of Sisyphus and stuff like that, but I'm also buying like Cerberus, the Aardvark 1-4 of those trade paperbacks that he put together, and that's one of my favorite comics of all time, is Cerberus.
Nice. I don't think I've read that one. I think I have to check that out.
It goes 12, 15 books deep. And it changes radically throughout the process. Dave Sim is an incredible writer. It starts off as like more of a satire of the sword and sandal fantasy genre comics and role-playing games and all that when it came out. and then it quickly turned highly metaphysical and very in-depth politically and philosophically, but still laced with a lot of humor and interest, and it's an incredible read.
Nice. So how did you get on the cover of Deadpool?
Oh, I threaten someone usually. Dave Johnson is a friend of mine, and he was doing covers for variant covers for DC for Deadpool and some other stuff. So for Marvel. My bad. Yeah. DC was coming into mind because the cover is a poke at DC and what they were. I don't know if they're still doing it because I don't buy singles, but they were having ads mushed into the panels inside in the interiors, and people were like, "The fuck is this?" So that was Dave's take on that. Was some asshole with a energy bar or whatever smashing into your comic cover, ruining it. Which, to be honest, I ruin everything. So I was a perfect candidate.
Oh man, that's cool. Yeah, I grew up on comics, dude. I mean, I was fascinated by a lot of the early Marvel stuff, the stuff that's actually coming out in the movies now, which blows my mind. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? They're talking about Thanos? Like, what? And now he's like, that's becoming a huge thing. And I hate to feel like the OG hipster, like, I was there in the beginning, man.
Well, I'm just waiting for them to do something with the Beyonder, right? So there we go.
Hell yeah.
How ridiculous would that get with his white disco suit in the Secret Wars 2?
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm all about it. I think that they're starting to open up more to that stuff. I mean, did you see the Guardians 2?
I did. Yeah. There was a lot of, talk about Celestials, which is pretty cool. I dig that. And for me, I got started off on old X-Men. Uncanny X-Men. And it was the issue where Wolverine's on the cover with his claws deployed and half his mask is ripped off. And it's the whole issue is basically the Marauders go into the tunnels where the Morlocks are and just start slaughtering people. And the X-Men get into this huge protracted fight in and amongst these catacombs. And it just reading that comic really blew me away, and I was forever hooked into that art form.
Very nice, very nice. All right, moving along from comics, music. I know you're a big fan of music. I've seen you backstage at a couple shows.
I get around.
You get around. I know you're good friends of the dudes from Every Time I Die, and you have a bunch of friends in different bands. But just what are some of your favorite bands to listen to while you're working out or getting a session in?
That always really varies too. Like the other day, it was all nothing but Slayer from Seasons in the Abyss and below on shuffle.
Okay.
And often, like lately, there was that. Listening to Nails or Behemoth, Goat Whore, Watain,
nice.
Marduk. Yeah, session the other day was just all Marduk, and all fast and brutal as fuck. And I tell you that those songs do help push you through some of this stuff and get that last rep in or what have you. But I used to be when I was sparring, I would put together a playlist during my training camps, and I would play that during my sparring sessions or certain training sessions because I wanted to create a certain type of atmosphere. So, I mean, even stuff that's slower and less brutal, like Primordial, I would play that because to me it had a different kind of significance to it.
Make you tap into that caveman mentality?
Sort of. More like Neanderthal. I think they were smarter anyways. But
okay.
Just creating a right mood and environment to help try to help you propel yourself past these sticking points. Because if you don't have severe difficulty going through this kind of stuff, then you're really not doing it right. You have to create the best intended hell for yourself so that you can thrive when the moment comes. And I've listened to a lot of Kill Switch while training too.
Yeah, I never really understood. I see a lot of fighters that come out to hip hop and they're like I like hip hop, but I don't really get hyped, like angry. I want to fight on hip hop. You know what I mean? To me, I would throw down, like you say, Kill Switch or Nails. Nails is a perfect example. They sound so angry.
Yes,
all the time.
they are.
Todd is very upset.
I mean, everybody's got whatever. Everybody's personality is going to dictate something a little different. But sometimes it's good to work out to like James Brown especially while you're boxing a little bit. Old soul stuff. Mm-hmm. It's got a good rhythm, got a good beat you can pick up on. You're trying to be smoother, but when I want to destroy somebody's will and destroy them physically, for me, it's like bolt thrower. That's what I walk out through. That has a special place for me and a meaning for me, and that's time to go to war.
Hell yeah, dude! You, like you said, you're friends with Andrew and a couple of the other guys. How did you make that connection? Was it mostly because of your fame from UFC or Pride, or was it just you trying to get back there?
Andy's a big fight fan, so that's how I met him. But even with Adam and other people, I just making friends with other folks. And then, this dude's cool. Hey, meet this guy, meet that guy, and just making friends with people and being open to hanging out with some rad dudes. I met Adam originally through Howard, and Howard was a big fight fan. And gotcha. Hang out, chit chat, and I was a big fan of the music, so getting to know the rest of the band, and then through them meeting other people, and so on and so forth. It's a really small community once you really get to it, and which isn't really all that different from fighting.
Sure.
Once you know one of us, you could probably know all of us to some degree, although that would really be to your dismay. But I dig metal music a lot. I'm really, really not just a fan, but I'm really appreciative of what it is. And to go see people perform live, which is rare nowadays, to see people write their own music, write their own lyrics, and go up there and put it on the line. Mm-hmm. They themselves, not your backing band, not the producers that created the beats and everything for you, or someone that wrote your songs. It's none of that. And you're just a puppet that is really good at displaying it, which there's value in that too. I mean, there's still talent there, but
sure,
I'd rather see Killswitch Engage up there putting their heart and soul into everything that they do, and them being the ones that not only create it, but they're the ones that play it. Than to see somebody go up there and push a button.
Yeah, it's all about the passion, dude. And you seem like a passionate guy. You have to be, and to be a fighter, and that same mentality all goes into it. Like, it's all about the passion for your art, and I appreciate that from metal bands. Like bands like Dillinger and Every Time I Die, like their performances alone, like they're jumping in the crowd and fucking jumping off of things, and it's very physically demanding, and they literally put their lives on the line. Not like, for example, Greg from Dillinger jumping off of freaking 3 stories or something.
Yeah, he does crazy shit. Shit. Or like, I was at the Blackest Fest to see guys like Marduk, Danzig, Atreyu, what have you. And while Atreyu's playing, Mark, the bassist, leaves the stage and gets in the pit. And he plays like half the song in the pit, circle pitting with all these kids. That's cool shit. That's fun stuff. Or like one of my favorite bands, they're not metal, but the Bronx. They're a hardcore band from LA.
Yeah.
One of my absolute top bands of all time. And Matt, always the lead singer, gets right out in the audience, man. He's right in the pit, singing his lyrics, doing his thing,
Hell yeah. Were you ever in a band?
No, I don't have the aptitude for musical instruments, although I think I've got an okay ear for stuff, but I never put the time and effort into it. And I own a guitar, but I am woefully inadequate at it to the point that I don't even bother to ask any of my musician friends to, like, hey, show me something, because I'm just like, I'm wasting your time. I know what I need to do. And it's the most boring, non-making a song type shit. But, to work on your fingering and your fretting and your different picking styles and all that, and being more accurate and more fluid and precise in your movements. So, like, yeah, fuck it. I'll one of these days maybe I'll actually be consistent with it. But and then I'll never probably be in a band at any rate, because I've seen how hard those guys have to work at that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised though. I mean, I think that fighting takes a lot of hand-eye coordination and dexterity and pinpoint precision, and
yeah.
I would think that you would be apt to becoming a guitar player.
No, they're not. They're different. Doing this kind of thing and all that is not the same as doing this stuff. It's very, very different, and there is far more precision in this kind of movement, much more delicate, small precision than there is in going out there and wrecking someone's face or suplexing them on their head. So, but it takes a lot of time to acquire the skills necessary to be good at fighting in any case. It's just the same as with a musical instrument. You need to put hours and hours just to be able to be basic. So that's why I'm like, oh, well, I know what it takes, and I'm not really willing to do it. So I'll just keep that in mind.
That was me with cooking. I love cooking. I love barbecuing and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could be a chef. And then I looked into it, and it's like, oh, I have to be a sous chef for 12 years? No, I can't do that.
I hear you. Cooking's super intense too.
Yeah. Since we were talking about fighting and all that, I'll jump into that. And I know you're also into professional wrestling, and I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the current state of the UFC and the WWE.
Well, I mean, the UFC is churning along pretty well. They're putting show after show after show out, and I know that there's a lot of things in the air there of change and fighters coming and going, but I don't think that's necessarily such a problem. They're always the UFC, and they'll always be able to create a great product, especially as long as they allow the athletes to shine as the individuals. I know that in the end that could end up meaning that they got to pay them more, but that's actually a good problem to have, I think, even if you're a promotion, because if these guys all cost more money, it's because they're making you more money, really.
Sure.
So that's a plus, I think, for them. And with the WWE, I don't watch it, so
okay.
I mean, they're the biggest name in the game, and I have friends that are there, but I don't. My TV's not even set up in this place. I just moved in here not that long ago, and I've really been slacking, and I don't watch that much TV anymore, anyways. And I haven't had cable in probably 7 years, so everything I watch is pretty much like Netflix, YouTube, Amazon, stuff like that.
Oh, I feel you. I'm doing the same. I cut ties with cable. I do watch like Raw and SmackDown online. I find streams that people post like on Reddit or whatever, and I just usually stream it through there. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I've been a fan. I've been a martial arts fan since I was a kid. I did JiuJitsu and karate and taekwondo, and then that led to me discovering what professional wrestling was, and started doing wrestling in high school and wanting to be a wrestler. And I ended up getting so many injuries before even doing tryouts that I was like, no, I can't keep putting so much damage on my body. It's like, by the time I'm 40, I'm going to be in a wheelchair. Yeah, because I went hard. It wasn't, I had no discipline in terms of training and like trying to be cautious and careful with my body. I would just go, and then I'd always end up something torn, something ripped,
Torn, ripped. Are we talking about your first time, or are we talking about wrestling?
Right.
Actually, the fact that you wrestled in high school gives you props in my book. Wrestlers are a different breed, man. Plus, to me, I'm also a person that doesn't look at I'm not all that concerned with how good somebody is. Anybody that's willing to put the actual effort in to do what's necessary to compete at all, no matter their results, that means something to me. It takes a different type of dedication. But there's also like a big difference between has-beens and never was. So I think that it's not that bad to be a has-been, but it's really fucking terrible to be a never was. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because you got to dare to do great things. And no scars, no proof. So if you didn't ever get injured in any way, shape, or form, it's because you weren't fucking trying. Yeah, no, I feel you. I sometimes think about it and it bums me out because I really wanted to do that, and it, torn knee, meniscus gone, ankles are all jacked up, shoulders, and then when I was 22, I had a really bad car accident, and that just kind of put me out completely. Because I broke my collarbone, I broke some ribs, broke a bunch of shit, so that really took me out of the picture completely. I still went to jiu-jitsu and tried to roll a bit and everything, but after like a couple weeks of rolling, I come home and I'm dead, and I just have to lay in bed with bags of ice on my knees, on my shoulders, and I don't even know if it's worth it, It's worth it for me because it's fun. I love doing that. I love choking somebody out and making them tap, but it just, it became too much, But I digress. Going back to what I was saying about the UFC, I was a really big fan, always have been. I just feel that lately there's too many fights. There's too many fights on TV. I think that, and your opinion isn't all that rare, actually. And people have been saying how they feel that the market for MMA is oversaturated, especially with the UFC specifically. And if it was up to me, yeah, I would cut the number of shows. I would also cut the roster significantly. Not because they're necessarily bad fighters, but I think that if you're trying to build the primo brand, you want to have the primo athletes and the primo individuals. So you want to make them shine as much as possible, which again creates greater opportunity for them to become stars, which means you're going to have to pay them more money. But that's the point, man.
Yeah.
And also just allow these other kids to just go off and fight wherever they want to fight and keep themselves busy. And then if someone shows himself to be what you believe as a big, solid investment, someone with a real upside, then you put them on contract and you have them there and you back them and you make sure that they know that they can go out and fight, not worried about getting their contract cut. It's just like, go out there and perform, do your best. And sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be right. I mean, it's just like NFL draft picks, man. Sometimes they turn into this huge bust, and sometimes this guy that was 7th round, what have you, he ends up being the star of stars. I mean, what's his face? Brett Favre. You know, he came in as a backup.
Yeah, I feel that I respect what the WWE has done with NXT. Like, I feel that should be implemented in the UFC. There should be a developmental league where you can go and get tested and, you know, fight a few fights under their own umbrella. But once you're building a name for yourself and you've tested yourself, then you can hit the big leagues, you know? Like, no offense to CM Punk, but, like, I felt that dude needed a few more fights before jumping into the UFC.
Well,
you know what I mean?
He's a specific thing altogether. He didn't, yes, you're right. And I don't think he would deny that either. But in his position, to waste that first shot opportunity to be a professional MMA fighter means he's going to be throwing millions down the drain.
Oh, for sure.
And his leverage in who he was and his name value would be substantially reduced. And so he's an odd situation where someone with that much, I don't want to say hype, but with such notoriety already, there isn't really a luxury. I mean, you can forego all of that and go fight amateur fights and build your way up and what have you, but you realize that you're putting all of that money that you could have made away. You're throwing it away. And I'd argue it's probably better for him to go out there, do that, and if he gets whooped, then keep going with a huge fat bank account and then go and take those smaller fights and build his record up. And because at the end of the day, man, you can't worry about what people are saying about you, or, you know, whether someone thinks you should be this or that, or rank this or that, or whether you won or you lost in their eyes. You have to go out there and do these things for yourself. And so if you want to continue to walk that path, even in such a situation as I described, then you could, no one's going to stop you. You know, I mean, you could still go out there and still go do your thing. It's just now you have a great fucking buffer for doing so called shit piles of money. And that's not a bad thing, if you ask me. But I don't blame the UFC for what they did. I don't blame Punk. I think Phil is a fucking great guy. I have known him for years, and I always wish him the absolute best. And I understand. He understands. It's, yeah, so what? He's over his head as far as like the UFC is concerned. But again, no guts, no fucking glory. And
for
he's
sure,
out there
man.
to put it out there.
For sure. And I give him super, super large amounts of props because, yeah, I would have done the same thing. They gave me the offer. Fuck yeah, I'm doing it. I don't care if I haven't had a professional fight. Let's go. I'll train and we'll figure it out. Which, that, you know, I would have done the same thing. I'm just saying I think if he would have had a few more amateur fights, like he'd be on the next card. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. And it'd be great to see him.
Well, part of that, maybe that's him. You know, maybe that's his decision to not be on the next card or what. I mean, I don't really know, and I haven't like pried into what he's thinking as far as his next fight. He did, to my understanding, he had essentially amateur fights in the gym. You know, they set him up to go and have these fight sessions. So
okay.
I don't think it was super new to him, but I mean, it takes so much time to get to a level of proficiency to compete, say in the UFC, even with a kid that they brought in to fight him who was relatively young as a pro, and this guy, I mean, that's all he's been doing is combat sports. And he had an amateur record, and he already had pro fights. And even if some guy who's got only 3 fights, if you've got 0 fights and you haven't been training to be a pro fighter for for half of your adult life, you're behind,
For sure. Well, tell me a little bit about you and your future. I know you're doing some more professional wrestling stuff. Is that the plan? Are you trying to work your way up the indies, trying to maybe hit like Ring of Honor or something like that? Maybe
No,
anything like that? No?
not at all. I have no interest in really working the indies or doing any of that kind of thing. What it happened was a friend of mine he does this joint show with AWS. QPW AWS, and his main event fell apart. Now, the other half of that main event that was still needing an opponent was Jeff Cobb, who I have worked with at a seminar before. He's a good dude. He's friends with a group of other guys that are really serious about pro wrestling, and so I thought, fuck, this could be a great opportunity to wrestle someone that I really want to wrestle this guy. It'll help my friend out. We did it for charity for the Southern California Thoroughbred Rescue Association, which, for me, it's like, well, this is an indie show. I mean, it's not even about making money in any way, shape, or form. But if I'm doing good for others, especially with this Thoroughbred Rescue, then I think it's worthwhile, especially because a lot of parallels. High level, super badass athlete, racehorse, gets a little too old and too long in the tooth, and then they put him out the pasture or really send him to a fucking glue farm. So I can understand that sentiment. So to help them out made sense to me. But it was also an opportunity for all my friends in LA to get to come and see me wrestle live for once, because I'm always wrestling in Japan. And it was a fucking blast. And it was great to wrestle Jeff. And, there are going to be things like that perhaps I might do, but those aren't business decisions. Those are just me having fun.
Gotcha.
And, if it was up to me, I've been doing stuff with this new iteration of the IGF called IGF NEW, headlined that first show for them in Corcoran. Doing stuff with them is great. Or if I could go back and wrestle in New Japan, although I do realize there's a little bit of an oddity there because I'm the American commentator along with Jim Ross. So commentating my own matches could be odd. But I'm willing to do it. I think that could give a unique perspective.
Well, you know that they're coming here. There's a show here in Long Beach, but there's also they're talking about opening up a center and all that. I mean, is that something that piques your interest?
Oh, I'm familiar with everything that's going on with all this New Japan stuff in America, and yeah, I do have interest. And Jim Ross and I are going to call those July 1st and 2nd matches live ringside.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that'll be a first time for both of us to do that for them. In that capacity, and the first time they bring something like the G1 and a full New Japan show to the American shores. I mean, they've done like stuff with Ring of Honor and things of that nature, but they've never done something like this. So, and fuck, the tickets all sold out super fast. So
yeah, man, I was there trying to get tickets online. It was like it's sold out. But
yeah, it's almost like PWG-itis, right?
Yeah, man, I can't get tickets to PWG either. What the fuck?
If I didn't know people who always end up having extras that I could buy off them, fuck, I wouldn't go either.
Yeah, dude, talk to me a little bit about working with JR. Like, that dude is a legend. Nothing has made me happier than hearing his voice. He's doing stuff with WWE again, and I'm like, hell yes, dude. This is what's been missing.
JR is amazing, and I'm a little bit of a hater of the WWE for stealing my fucking commentating buddies, although JR and I are still doing our New Japan stuff, but they snatched up Morrow.
Yeah,
when we were he got rated number one. He was voted number one commentator, and I was number 3 the year that they took him for the Wrestling Observer. And this year, Morrow won it again, but this time New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access was voted the best weekly wrestling show. That's over everybody. And
that's awesome.
The stuff that I did foundationally with Morrow, and now that what I'm doing with Jim Ross, that's all responsible for it. And being able to call what I think is the best wrestling out there doesn't hurt either. So it's great to sit next to JR and be able to learn from him and be mentored by him on the mic, as well as just about the business in general. And it's been nice in that we have a very similar mentality when it comes to what we think about wrestling and how we think about what's important with wrestling and how to really make it flourish. So he's been a kindred spirit and a great guy, and I think the world of him.
That's awesome, man. I've always been a fan of his work, like back in the Attitude Era, and I've caught a few of the New Japan matches. Not as much as I'd like. I need to sit down and actually go and watch all of them.
Yes, you do.
It's so good. The few that I've seen, even old. I knew about AJ Styles when he hit the WWE. I knew who he was, but I hadn't seen a lot of his New Japan stuff, and it's great. It's such hard hitting. They're actually hitting each other. You see sweat flying. Like that's
yes.
intense.
I would argue that AJ Styles' New Japan run is his best wrestling.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, right now, I don't think they're using him properly in the WWE. And I've started watching WWE again. I had quit shortly after, Stone Cold quit and JR was gone. I was like, I'm done. I'm not listening to any of this. I missed the entire CM Punk thing. Like, I found out about him at Hot Topic. I saw him on a shirt. I'm like, whatever.
There were some gems there, like Daniel Bryan and
I missed
CM
that,
Punk.
yeah.
Yeah, and I could just watch those dudes wrestle each other every night. That would have been great.
Yeah, but recently I got back in because I've seen that they're giving shots to like Nakamura and Kevin Owens and all these dudes that are coming from New Japan and some of the smaller organizations. But I'm still not pleased with what's going on, like the way they're showcasing them. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, and that's always an issue, right? I mean, there's like a certain ebb and flow to the way WWE does stuff, like coming to Raw and all that kind of scenario. But NXT being a place that allows them to be a bit more free form about the wrestling, whereas WWE is almost entirely a television-oriented product. Mm-hmm. And it can be insanity back there. I've helped guys. I've been back there when I've had students in WWE where I go, okay, they come to me like, oh, I've got 7 minutes of a match. Okay. But intros are 2. Like, all right, you don't really have much time to work. And then one match goes over, this little change. And by the time it's like, oh, actually, now our match is 4.5. So that means we have, like, well, that's not a match. But yeah, they have their schedules that they're trying to put together. You're working towards hard cam. And I did some TV stuff for TNA. And I gotta be honest, it was a great experience, but it was a little weird having to wrestle for TV because I'm used to, even with like when I was in New Japan and we would have our show every night, or not every night, but once a week on TV Asahi, plus pay-per-view shit. We were given times and that's it. And who's going over? I just would go out there, work a match and
call it in the spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just put it together, go out there and go, and you just go. You don't worry about where the cameras are that much. I mean, there is a value to that, but you're not, you just like, here you go. Here's 15 minutes. Go fucking do a deal. Mm-hmm. And then when I worked Bobby in TNA, they gave us a time, but at the same time, I was like, oh yeah, I remember hard cam's always over here. And then where there's a commercial break at this point. So you gotta like, wow, that really changes the dynamic there, but I'll adapt. And then you go and like wrestling Jeff Cobb for QPW AWS. And that was simply, what do you like to do? Oh, I do these things. All right, cool. Yeah, I've seen you. And I do this. And then the ref's like, well, what's the finish? I go, he'll give up. Don't worry about it. And just wrestle. All we did was wrestle the whole time. We didn't make a whole choreography to go with everything. The referee wasn't in on all this intricate shit. It was just, hey, you're across the ring. We're going to fight for 20 minutes. And then we'll see how it goes.
Right. So what are the rules? Are there rules like no punching straight in the mouth, like when it comes to that?
Well, actually, technically, there are rules to professional wrestling. Yeah. Well, like the rope escape. If you grab a rope, it breaks. You break the hold. Yeah. If you're in the ropes, tied up there, if you're on top of the turnbuckle, supposedly you only get like 5 seconds. Actually, you get 5 seconds to break a hold for the referee to get you to break. You're not supposed to hit to the face with a closed fist. That's supposed to be in professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. You're only supposed to hit with the bottom of the shoe when you kick someone, technically. Okay. But then I guess if you've got shin guards on, you could kick them, Muay Thai style. Okay. I think that's something that came in there. A lot of places will still have the old catch, one of the old catch derived deals of no strangleholds. So they'll be like, check him for the choke. But I mean, that's also kind of a gray area too, because there's a lot of old style catch wrestling matches where they allowed strangleholds. Some guys, their nickname was the fucking Strangler. So clearly, yeah. But I also believe that having there's usually a 10 count to the outside or 20. And the old school used to be you couldn't go if you went over the top rope or you threw someone over the top rope, that was a DQ. But I believe that really it would help wrestling a lot if people adhered to the rules of professional wrestling, because it helps give structure, and then it also allows you to work with that either as the good guy or the bad guy, something to break, something to take notice of. It just helps. It gives you more to play with. If it's just an completely open environment, then it's hard. It's much harder to create meaningful moments in those capacities.
Sure. And I mean, the rules are there also. I mean, some of the rules, not the rope stuff, but a lot of the rules are there to protect the fighter or the wrestler, because, severe damage can be done. And
yes,
you're no stranger to that, having fought in like Pride and shit. Like, you were around when they had soccer kicks. Is that,
oh yeah, soccer, I've stomped on men's heads. Need him in the head, all that. I was when I started fighting, it was bare knuckle and we'd headbutt and all that. So Jesus I'm familiar with the beginnings of all of this, and that was fine too, to be honest. But when you're working a match, it takes away from the realism if you're up there punching someone in the face and they're just taking punch after punch after punch and no one's getting cut and you're hitting them with a bare knuckle. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But that's just me. Yeah,
that's one of the things that turned me off of WWE was when they stopped using blood or stopped like allowing blood. Like that adds a whole new element to the fight, man. Like, and it makes it more real for the fan. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the psychology that goes, or not psychology, but what goes on in your head after you've been knocked out. I've noticed people like Machida, for example, looked unstoppable in the UFC until he got knocked out. And then after that, he just started dwindling down and losing fights and kind of just, how badly does that fuck you up? Because I've never been knocked out, like punched out. I've been choked out. I've been, submitted, but I've never been punched and knocked out.
What about fondled? You ever been fondled?
Oh, I've been fondled. It sucks. That's always making the most uncomfortable thing possible. Like, hey, ah! But I mean, I have gone unconscious from jumping off a stage, landing on my head like an idiot, or skiing. I went skiing and like hit a tree and smashed, and also my car accident. I was unconscious for that as well. Uh-huh. But getting punched and knocked out, like, how badly does that affect you? Have you been knocked out before?
Yeah, I've been knocked out. Honestly, at first, it doesn't affect you at all because you don't feel anything. Yeah, it can fuck with your head. I think losing in general can fuck with your head, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And there's worse ways, I think, than even getting knocked out. I mean, there's ways of like just getting caught with something is one thing. Some guy piecing you apart and then closing the door on you, that would be even worse. Yeah. But everybody's got to deal with whatever adversity that's going to come their way, and that's just something you have to accept. It's like getting behind the wheel of a race car. If you have any fear of crashing,
don't do it.
Don't drive. Yeah. Don't fucking do it. Saying if you're afraid of getting knocked out or submitted or what have you, don't get in the ring, because you're only assuring that you're not going to perform at your best. And I can't speak for Machida. He's been fighting a long time, so maybe it's just, and maybe he slowed down a step, or maybe he's lost a little bit of reflexes that were keeping him above level, and now when that little slight decrease was just enough to make him more vulnerable, or maybe people were figuring him out more. There's plenty of reasons why that could be, but fuck, I mean, had a hell of a run.
Oh yeah, no, and I, now that you've said it that way, it does make sense. Like, he was undefeated and for a while and like untouchable, like I said, and then once he got knocked out, maybe that started developing a fear in him of like, shit, I don't want that to happen again. And now that's a new thought that's in his mind that was never there before. It was just like, let me do my game plan and fuck, whatever.
Maybe he just has been drinking the wrong urine. I don't know.
Yeah, man. When I heard about that shit, I was like, oh man, come on, what are you doing? I mean, I get the point he was trying to get across. Hey, if you're clean, then your piss should be clean. But oh god.
Well, technically, it's the first urination of the day, and there's vitamins and all kinds of. Also, your urine is sterile to you, but not other people.
That's weird how that works.
You'll hear about people stepping on a jellyfish or what have you, and on the beach, and they're like, oh, piss on your foot. Well, part of that's to clean the wound.
Okay.
Or after training, people, in wrestlers will say, "Oh yeah, piss on your feet in the shower," to try and keep away from athlete's foot.
Oh wow.
Me, I just do it for shits and giggles. I usually piss on other people's feet whenever I can.
In the gym,
You know.
just so you stay. That's awesome. I had someone, I asked one of my buddies, I told him I was going to talk to you, and he's like, I need you to ask him who hits harder, Mark Hunt, Krokop, or Pedro Hizzo.
Krokop is the hardest hitter, although Pedro Hizzo is a pretty heavy hitter too. I wouldn't know because Mark Hunt never hit me. So,
No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why would they bring that up then? Oh, well.
Well, I'm not saying I did fight him. He just never landed a punch.
Okay.
So, thankfully, and that was kind of part of the plan.
Well, isn't that always part of the plan, not to get hit?
Usually, it doesn't work out so well, though. It's often a very inefficient way of going about things. So you got to mitigate those expectations.
You train a lot of fighters and everything, and I've noticed some fighters, like Anderson Silva used to do it a lot too, where when they're fighting and they're facing their opponent, they're kind of looking at their chest. Like they're not really looking at their head or hands or anything. They're looking like a little further down to their chest. Do you know what that's about? Is it
because you're trying to read their hips and their shoulders more than anything else? I don't need to look at your face to know that you're going to try and fucking punch me. But what I do want to look for is tells in your shoulder movement or your footwork, trying to pick up things that way. So I teach it the same way, look more chest level. But, I mean, there is value in looking someone straight in their dead-ass face and intimidating them, There's times for that. But really, it's more about being able to pick up on their body movement and not let their eyes trick you, because sometimes they're just so sexy, you'll just fall right into a trance. And then you don't even know what's going on anymore. But the other thing that can happen is that they will purposefully look somewhere and you'll follow their eyes and then something will come from the other side.
Yeah, the Nick Diaz special. He likes to look people right in the face.
I do it myself. I'll stare at the leg and I'll kick it and I'll stare at it. So you think I'm going to kick your leg and then I kick you in the head.
Nice, man. Are you planning on fighting again in the UFC at any point?
Maybe next year. Right now, I'm really more concerned with taking a break after 20 years and doing some other stuff. Been hitting up shows, obviously, seeing my friends, back out there, meeting people as far as like the single ladies. So just making real regular life and the life after fighting more of a priority right now. But I still have more left in the ring, and I'm not looking to leave it on the table.
Gotcha. That's good. I'd like to see you fight again. That'd be cool. Talk to me a little bit about health. I know that you have recently lost a bit of weight, and you're being more cautious with your diet and everything. So I've been hearing a lot of this like ketogenic thing. What are your thoughts on the ketogenic diet?
It works, but it makes you feel miserable usually, especially for like the first 2 weeks. But when I'm being good about things, I'll usually eat ketogenically or paleo, basically avoiding a lot of sugar and unnecessary processed carbs and things like that, which can help with reducing inflammation. Eating keto with the added fats and protein can be really good for your joints. Although too much red meat can cause inflammation too. So, I mean, there's like no guarantee on any of that. Plus, everybody's system is a little different in what they need. The other thing I'll do is I do intermittent fasting, where I'll have a meal. I'll stop eating anything at 9 o'clock at night, and then I won't eat again until 1 p.m. the next day.
Oh, wow.
You'll do that for 3-4 days in a row, and that can help with your system as well. And I try to stick to the idea of 80% of the time, if I eat right, then 20% of the time I can eat like a total asshole, and I'm fine. Sometimes including eating assholes. But I just have been spending a lot of time working on elements of my physique and just trying to eat better and train more and stay in the gym more and using energy that I would normally be doing for like fight camps and shit like that, putting it towards just hitting the weights.
Nice. Yeah, I need to make a change soon, man. The pain from all the accidents and breakage has starting to accumulate, and I feel that I need to get back to being more active and doing more jiu-jitsu. And my biggest issue has been finding a gym that I can do jiu-jitsu and train with somebody that I can feel comfortable with. In Miami, I trained with my buddy Jeff. He was the singer for Poison the Well. I don't know if you're familiar with Poison the Well.
I'm not, but okay.
The band. They went on tour with Every Time I Die, and they're all buddies and homies and shit. But Yeah, he and I used to roll together, and now that I'm out here, I don't really have any. I don't really have a lot of friends out here.
What area do you live in?
I live in Long Beach in Bigsby Knolls.
All right, there's got to be at least a couple good gyms out there. I'm not super familiar with the Long Beach setup, but Southern California is fucking crawling with jiu-jitsu and MMA gyms. So there's got to be something in that direction.
Well, my issue is just finding a buddy. Because fighting with strangers to me always feels, or like rolling with them and training with them, if I could do it, it's not a problem. I'm not as inspired as if I had someone.
I would then pose this question to you: who is your buddy but a stranger until they become your buddy?
There's a lot of but in that. Well, yeah, I guess you're right.
So the thing is, what's one of the quickest ways for someone to become your buddy, but to try and murder you? Personally, I've always found that is how I've formed my fastest and deepest friendships. So
that's true. My
opinion is find a good gym, and if it's got solid dudes in there, dudes and dudettes, you'll make buddies.
Okay. Yeah, I got to get back into it. That's just, like I said, the pain of all the different injuries and scar tissue that's building up in the joints and stuff as I'm getting older is just not fun. So I want to stay active.
Well, I'd suggest maybe going on a diet, a no-grain diet for a bit, and see how that helps with inflammation and things like that. You'll definitely lose weight, but if you just cut out grains, try it for a month. Grains and milk products.
Okay. Yeah, milk products I'm lactose intolerant, so I try and not eat I do have, I drink like Lactaid, which helps, but I don't really drink regular milk. The only one thing I haven't given up is cheese, but I must. I know that I must.
Yes. So try cutting out your grains and all dairy products for a month. See how that goes.
My issue with the grains is I work in the beer industry, and beer is grains mostly.
Okay, well, how about this? You get rid of bread, pasta, cookies, shit like that.
Okay.
And the only grains you get are from
beer.
Yeah. I can make an exception. Although I'll tell you what, if you're like on the keto diet, you wouldn't be able to drink beer at all. If you were doing it, you would have to drink only hard liquor.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a specific hard liquor like vodka? Because I know vodka's cleaner, supposedly.
It's not any cleaner than anything else. I mean, I'm Mr. Brown liquor myself, especially with whiskey. But yeah, just straight whiskey would be totally on the level. And then there was like the people that are all about tequila because it's gluten-free. Like, I have gluten intolerance, so what the fuck I care?
Yeah, I can't drink tequila. That's the booze that turns me into Mr. Hyde. I've gotten kicked out.
Everybody's got a story about tequila, it seems like.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, some people it makes them happy and great, and they're stoked. Some other people throw up. I get violent.
That's me. I'm a happy drunk. I don't get mean when I drink at all, which is probably for the benefit of those around me, really.
Well, I mean, for me, it's just tequila. I mean, I could drink vodka and whiskey with you all night, and I'll be fine. But tequila, I don't know what it just upsets me. It just makes me mad. I don't know if it's the lingering, in my blood or whatever.
You just want to start a fucking revolution? Is that it? Or do you want to go on top of a fucking cigarette and pull someone's heart out?
Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, shit. Well, dude, it's been great talking to you. It's been about an hour. I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you're busy.
I have a credenza getting delivered, so.
A credenza?
A credenza. It's a mid-century piece, and I'm going to use it for a set of dresser drawers. Like I said, I just moved into a place, so had to pick up a few different little items.
Are you living out here in California, or?
Yeah, I live in Hollywood.
Oh, in Hollywood, okay. Like in the heart of Hollywood? Because that shit, I don't know how you would live there and not...
There's neighborhoods around Hollywood that comprise of Hollywood. No, you're not going to see me anywhere on Hollywood Boulevard or any of that kind of nonsense, but there's a lot of cool little spots around here. And it's where I was living, and then I moved out of my old place, my old scenario. And I didn't really want to leave the neighborhood. I had enjoyed being up here. I had so much stuff. And plus, if I'm doing auditions and acting classes and things like that, it's easier for me to get to those things.
Sure.
And a spot opened up that had everything I needed, especially stuff for my cars. So, it all worked out.
Very cool.
Plus, I was able to replace my own alternator because I have a nice big driveway the other day.
That's important. Hell yeah. Having enough workspace is great. I'm actually driving down this weekend. I'm driving down to San Diego to see Adam. We're going to go day drink.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about him actually the other day, and I'm like, I know if I'm going to go hang out with Adam, I should probably figure out a way to take that train and then maybe spend the night somewhere and then come back, because we're probably going to get dumb.
Oh, yeah. He already offered. He's like, I got a buddy from Mass staying with me, but if you want to crash in the house, you got to, we'll figure it out. I'm like, I'll try and be professional and not drink as much as I would normally, just so I could drive back. But yeah, I'm going to drive down there and hang out. I haven't seen him in a while since the Killthrax show. And, it's always fun to hang out with Adam and go brewery hopping. He's a fucking trip. So.
I bet he's a fucking blast for that kind of thing. I always dig seeing him. And, yeah, give him my best, man. Will
do. Well, thanks for your time, dude. If you want people to follow you on social media, what do you got?
Josh L. Barnett on Twitter and Instagram. I do not post concurrently across them, so what you get on Twitter is not going to be the same as what you get on Instagram, because I want to make sure that they're kind of distinct in themselves, although it's all me, so nobody else wants to take this job on, trust me. And then on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Josh Barnett. That's my official fan page. And I post up a lot of the articles and things about what I'm doing, what my team is doing, the UWF USA guys and gals. And, it gives me more space than 140 characters.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm out there doing my fucking thing, being just as ridiculous as anybody else.
Cool, dude. Well, thank you again for your time. We should try and link up sometime, dude. I'd love to come to your gym where you're training just to maybe take a look around and see what you guys are doing. And
sure.
Maybe try and get back
for sure
into
look into Long Beach for you, and if I can figure out a spot that I think would be a good fit.
All right, cool, man. All right, dude. Well, I'll talk to you later. Thanks again.
All right, man.
Cheers, dude.
Heaven's gone black, the sky is black, earth is full